minutes each on various aspects in the pathway to medicine. At the end of the seminar, there will be time for a question and answer session with the speakers. If you post your questions in the chat box, we will mute everyone except the speakers throughout the meeting. You can interact with us throughout the meeting by messaging in the chat box. Please post your comments as well as your questions throughout the event. We are recording the session and posting it on YouTube for further reference. We aim to finish the seminar in 90 minutes as specified. So now I call upon my first speaker, Dr. Anand, who will give a brief introduction. Dr. Anand is a consultant psychiatrist working in the NHS for more than 20 years. He has always been interested in education. He did his MBBS from India and did his training and master's degree in psychiatry in Nottingham and Oxford. Over to you, Dr. Anand.
Thank you very much, Priya. Thanks for welcoming us to this lovely 90-minute seminar. And good evening to all young students. I can see numerous students joining us today on a Saturday evening. Glad to see you all. And also good evening to all parents who have taken the effort to share the knowledge. We will start on time and will end on time. The reasons why we have been doing this event has been, we realized that there is lack of knowledge about getting into UK Medical University. I'm a doctor. I've been working in the NHS in UK for more than 22 years. But still, as a parent, when my son applied to uni, we felt we lacked the knowledge to successfully go through the process. And I realized if it's the same for a doctor working in the NHS, it might be the same for other people in other professions. So we wanted to help others, and we started doing a career events in 2008. As you all know, even though it's a very streamlined process to apply to medicine in UK, there are different criteria for different universities and challenges in how do you really choose the four choices you have for the medical university, and how do you go about doing a personal statement, how do you prepare for mock interviews, and that was the reason why we have been doing it for a few years now. And our recent mock interviews has been very successful, especially the last year. More than 30-40 students who took part in our mock interviews got into uni, and that really motivates us. I feel the most happiest thing is to make other people happy. So I'm sure you all agree with me, and that is our main motivation to do this. We have been doing it especially mainly with the volunteers, all the doctors and medical students, and whose main aim to help others. And that's how we have been doing. And with the knowledge we gained, we have come out with a book which we are going to release in the next 10 days. It will be available on Amazon at a small cost of £499, equivalent to 500 rupees in India, which is to cover the costs of the printing and the transport. So today, what we are going to do is, this is mainly meant for a general session on medical, on how to get into medicine, various aspects. And I noticed lots of young children, as well as students in GCSEs and A levels who have joined us. Some of you might be wondering whether medicine is the right career for you, or you might doubt your ability to become a doctor. Success or genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. Can you put up your hand if you know who said this? You don't have to answer. You can just tell me if you know who said this. That's right. Some of you would have guessed it is Thomas Alva Edison, the inventor of light bulb. He himself is saying it's hard work mainly, and it's not just by genius. Some of us are born with some innate ability, but generally champions are not born. they earn things through perspiration, hard work. So what you really need is the main intention. For example, if you want to go to China, you should first have that intention that you want to go. Out of it, then you work out whether you take a flight or you go by road. So next things follow. So first have an intention and then have an imagination. So imagine yourself, you're being, positively thinking that you're going to do that, and never give up. There might be hurdles. You might fail some exams, or you might have a poor mark, or you might have mock interviews. You might get a 5 or a 6, but never give up. And never compare yourself with others. You are your own competitors. Always try to improve yourself. By trying to compare with others, you are only actually going down. So compare with yourself and then progress. Just to finish off, I want to share my story. I was just an above average student in high school. But during the college days, I managed to work hard and got support from parents. And with other support, I became the first doctor in my family. And here I am, able to inspire others and even write a book about, with the help of others, to how to get into medical uni. Hope in this seminar, you will be able to have some take-home points. And by the end of the session, we get inspired and motivated to get into a medical career. Thank you very much. And we go on to our next speaker. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. That was very, very inspirational. I hope everyone here gets inspired and motivated by your talk. So now I call upon Dr. Raghuraman. He is a senior consultant anesthetist and has been in senior management positions, including medical director of the NHS Trust. He likes to help people and has been an active member in the Alumni Association. This talk is going to be on why become a doctor. Over to you, Dr. Raghuraman.
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm really honored and privileged to be amongst you all. And I think I happen to be classmate of senior of Dr. Anand. And if he thinks that he was a mediocre student, I think I fall very below the standards, but we've all made it. And I think that goes down to show that it is possible to get to where you want. You have to do the efforts to get to where you want. And that's the inspiration plus the hard work that goes along with it. So needless to say that is part of how you get there. The reason why you want to become a doctor, and people keep asking these questions, and I think in this forum, I think it's a wrong concept, because the fact that you are here tells us that you want to become a doctor. And that's the reason why you are here. So I think I'm going to probably preach the converted here. But having said that, there are things that you may not know in the path to becoming a doctor and after becoming a doctor. What are the things that you can expect, or what you're meant to be doing? And that's probably some of the areas I can shed light. Because as many of my people who come from India to this country to make a career out of this, we did not join medicine by our own choice. We were asked to join medicine by our parents, who knew better about it, or who thought that the children probably still don't know, and we will ask them to do what they want us. And we didn't have a choice in those days. However, when we joined, I think it gave us a purpose in life. A purpose to care for people, a purpose to look after the people, a purpose that gives you a joy when you see your patients getting better and going home and saying thank you. I think it's worth more than the money that we earn, more than the hard work. It takes away all the hard work and pain that we put to get there. I think that is more than an inspiration for all of you. When you get that into that position, treating patients is the most compassionate profession you can ever get into, no matter how long and how many hard days you have spent doing it, but it's worth it at the end. A journey to 1,000 miles starts with the first step. I think you guys have taken this today, and I wish you all the very best. You'll get a lot of advice in this forum. We have the WhatsApp groups, people coming and asking us for advice. And when you do qualify and you're looking for opportunities, please do get in touch with me, and I will do my best to support you all to get you where you want to get, and career advice too. I wish you all the best for this, not only this seminar, but in the journey to getting to where you want, and have a good 90-minute session plus a great future ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Raghuvaraman. That is very, very
Priya, just so we have we are going to release the book now. Do you want to? I will say a few words about our book. As we said, we are bringing out with this book mainly with the help of volunteers who have contributed to so that the knowledge stays. And I am very pleased to invite Professor J.S. Bamra, who unfortunately couldn't join over the Zoom, but he'll be just speaking to us over the phone to say a few words about the book. And Priya, do you wanted to invite Professor Bamra?
Yeah, of course.
Go on.
Okay. So now I call upon Professor Bamra, CBE, to release the book. Dr. Bamra was an honored CBE on the Queen's Birthdays Honor List. He is an excellent professional career. He has an excellent professional career and one of the 100 ethnic minority health leaders in the UK. He's a practicing psychiatrist in Manchester. He has more than 40 medical publications and has appeared on several radio shows on BBC. And he's the current chair of British Indian Association of Indian Origin. Over to you, Professor Bamra.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Priya. Thank you very much, Ezhil. I'm really sorry. This is the success of what you've just done that I couldn't get in because your Zoom allows up to 100 participants. But so I'm awfully sorry that I can't have a visual with you folks. I'm really excited about this book. Ezhil, as ever, has become a very prominent person, not just in psychiatry, but as a leader. And I'm not surprised that he has thought about this project. Want to get into a UK medical university, and it gives you all the tips. So I'm J.S. Bamra, as Priya was telling you there. I'm the chair of British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, the largest Indian or medical organization in the UK. It has quite a big footprint. We have a large number of members. So we're in a position really of being able to work through policy and that sort of thing. And we celebrate our 25th anniversary today, this year. And just a week before we celebrate this, we have the wonderful announcement by Ezhil that he's announcing this book. Now, you know, the world has become very global, and it's there's so much migration, medical migration that is happening. It's so important that people still have an ambition to come to UK medical universities, work in the National Health Service here in the UK. And so it's very important that people are armed with information. And I think with all of these authors, you have a lot of information that you need that is going to prove very useful in terms of undergraduate medical courses in the UK. I want to wish everybody luck. This is going to be launched on Amazon, I'm sure, quite soon, as Ezhil and colleagues will tell you. So please, everybody, get the right information. It's so important because there's so much rubbish on the internet. Get the right information, come to the right place, come to the right university. And when you become medical students here, join BAPIO, please. Membership for medical students is free of charge. So I thought I'd put that one in, Ezhil, if you don't mind. But I wish you a lot of luck. You know, this is just an absolutely wonderful thing that you and your colleagues have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bamra. We'll continue with our next speaker. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to carry on, Priya?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Dr. Bamra. As he said, we are releasing our book, which will be available on Amazon very, very soon. The book, it's written by medical students and doctors, and we believe that it will be helpful towards GCSE, A-level and parents. So yeah, we will let you know once that book is on Amazon. So now I call upon my next speaker, Dr. Sendhil Kumar. Dr. Sendhil is also another senior consultant psychiatrist in substance misuse in Derby, which is one of the very few NHS-led addictions in our country. He's going to be speaking about the admissions journey. Over to you, Dr. Sendhil Kumar.
Thank you. Right. Like Ezhil said, there are lots and lots of one can call stumbling blocks, but if you know how to navigate, it becomes much easier. So the main source one has to go through is what is called as UCAS. It's Universities and Colleges Admission Service. It's not just for medicine, it's for any admission for any universities in UK. So this is what the first step you need to, and it has lots and lots of information about various universities and what the procedures. So a lot of universities have different criteria. So some universities wanted certain number of A stars, A's or B's in GCSE, or now some of the subjects are termed 9, 8, 7. So depends on which subject. Certain universities give marks to, like A star and A will be this many marks and B will be this many marks. So and then you have to score a particular mark. Like one of the North universities want the students to score at least 15 marks with the total of all the subjects. Or some universities, what they do is they assign the mark, and along with the marks they add the UCAT or the BMAT total, and you need to have a particular cutoff before you are invited to interview. So it's very important before you apply for the universities that you fill the criteria. And then in the A levels, chemistry is generally the subject which you have to do, but there are different criteria for different universities again, so you need to look at those. But chemistry is, if you have chemistry and 2 other subjects, it's generally considered okay. So people go for chemistry, biology and any other subjects like math or physics or psychology. So you can do the 3rd subject as you prefer. And then different universities have different offer rating. What may offer rating is, you are expected to take 3 subjects. So certain universities you need to score A star, A star, A. Certain you have to score A star, A, A. Certain universities you need to score A. But then if you don't get a particular mark in a particular subject, certain universities allows you to resit. But then if you resit, say for example, if in chemistry instead of an A you got a B, so certain universities can allow you to sit back again, but then what you have to score is A star. So you need to check the criteria again. There is also what is called as widening access for those people from other areas where they want to include more people coming across the country, because they should not have any cutoff that you have to come from this sort of background. So the contextual offer increases persons from poor background, so that if it applies to you, then the offer will be still a bit low, so check for that. So certain universities offer what is called as intercalation. What it means is, in the 3rd or 4th year, you can do 1 year out of university, and you can do a subject of your choice, like people do anatomy or public health. So that is certain universities you have to do as mandatory, but certain universities you can do if you want. Otherwise, you finish the course in 5 years' time. Otherwise, it becomes 6 years. Work experience, most of the universities would expect, some will definitely want it. So the work experience could be in healthcare. Like Ezhil said, not everybody would know a doctor. So every region has what is called as health education. I'm in East Midlands, so our health education is called Health Education East Midlands. You can apply to the Health Education East Midlands and say that you want work experience, and they will offer you a placement for a week within the East Midlands region. And of late, they're also offering virtual healthcare experience. You can also do volunteering, like you can do volunteering with any of the charities or St. John's Ambulance. So that will also be considered as work experience. Then DFE, for those who are in UK, know about the Duke of Edinburgh, where you have bronze, silver, and gold. So in the universities in UK, there are two entrance exams. One is the UCAT, which is called University Clinical Aptitude Test. And for UCAT, it can be any date until the last date of the required year. So for next year's medical university exam, you should have taken the UCAT exam this September. So it's a 2 hours test. So you have verbal reasoning, decision making, quantitative reasoning, abstract reasoning. The number of questions varies. So for example, verbal reasoning, you have 44 questions, but you have 22 minutes, which means you have 30 seconds per question. But for abstract reasoning, you have 14 minutes, but 55 questions. But then once you develop how to answer the questions, you need to see the patterns and stuff, which some of the medical students will be able to explain better. Then these are marked between 300 to 900. And there is the fifth option, which is the fifth one, which they test what is called a situational judgment test, and it's banded from 1 till 4. And certain universities want this sort of banding. So like University of Nottingham, they give individual marks for verbal reasoning, decision making, and then they add a total, and you need to get that total. But for certain, like for example, if you take Newcastle, you would just need the total. Like last year or the year before, it was 2,720 is the cutoff. So if you have got the 2,720 and in the SJT, if you scored band 1, you'd be offered for an interview, and then you would get the offer to do the medicine there. So, but different universities have different. So in our medical uni interview, there is an Excel spreadsheet which gives all these different areas, so it will be easier. And if you are starting this for the first time, it will look daunting, but over time you will get used to it, and then you would know what you have to look for. The other one is some of the universities you have to do BMAT, which is called biomedical admissions test. But for the BMAT, it has to be a specific date. So therefore, those who apply for the BMAT universities, you would have already submitted your preferred universities, which you have to do by October 15. So these BMAT tests for this year will be in November. So you have to take the test after you have applied for which university you want to go. So it tests the thinking skills, which will be for an hour, 32 multiple choice questions. You have scientific knowledge and applications. Again, it's 30 minutes, but 27 multiple choice questions. And there'll be a writing task about a particular thing, and you would have 30 minutes to write this. Then the next thing that comes is the personal statement. So this is where you enter your work experience and various other things, because as a doctor, they would expect your leadership skill, your management skill, your interpersonal skill, your empathy, and various other attributes. So you need to bring all the attributes which you learned and how you applied from the work experience. Certain universities just need this personal statement, but certain universities score the personal statement, or certain universities will use the personal statement. If there are two candidates with same marks, they'll use the personal statement to differentiate. And certain universities, they will ask questions from your personal statement in the interview. So be mindful when you write the personal statement. And the most important thing is you cannot copy and paste. If you copy and paste, it will be considered plagiarism, which means you will be struck off, in the sense you will not be given the offer at all. So just be mindful, because when you submit this personal statement, they will do what is called as plagiarism checker, and you need to have less than a particular cutoff. Because just be very, very careful. Don't copy and paste. Be genuine. Do enter what you have done rather than copying and pasting. So then comes to the choice of universities. In the you have to apply through UCAS. You have 5 options, but you can only go for 4 options for medicine. The 5th option should be an related subject. It can be any, like it could be nursing, it could be pharmacy, it could be biomedical science. So you can only apply for 4 universities. 5th, you have to apply for a different subject. Then the deadline for submission is always, this year it was 15th October, which is yesterday, for starting next year for medical school. And the interview format, there are two different types of interview format. One is called MMI, which is multiple mini interviews. So where you go into a room where you have one-to-one, you have 6 minutes, and then 1 minute to read, 6 minutes to with the examiner. Then you go for the next interview panel. That's MMI. In the panel, you will be talking to 2 or 3 interviewers sitting in front of in the desk. So there are 2 different types of interviews. The other important thing you need to look at is you have to see how many applicants apply per place for every universities and how many are offered the interview. So that also makes a difference. So you need to look at lots of permutation and combinations. So the selection process depends, like we said, some take personal statements, some take the total of GCSE ranking as the deciles, some take your UCAT individual range, some take the whole. So you need to look at the selection process of any particular universities. And also there is a thing called Gateway to Medicine courses where you have to do 1 extra year. These are candidates or A-level students who have the potential to be doctors, but they have not attained the standard for the entry requirements. The other one is medicine with a preliminary year. So these are A-level students who attained higher A-level grades, but did not take relevant science subjects for medicine, like the chemistry. So then they can do a medicine with a preliminary year. And the other one is graduate entry. So if you are not successful, unfortunately, that's not the end of the world. You can do another degree and come as a graduate entry. I know 6 years ago, I had a 54-year-old engineer who at the age of 40, he was a grandfather by the time, he decided he had enough of engineering, he wanted to do medicine. So he entered medicine when he was 45 or 46, and then 52, he came to me as a GP trainee. So you can always do medicine anytime. So if you don't get after the A level, it's not the end of the world. I know there is another student attending today from Isle of Man. She did not get the university, but she got the right markings for the subjects. So she is applying this year. So there are lots and lots of opportunities. Just talk to us, get involved in our medical uni interview WhatsApp. You will get all the information. And I think I'll stop there. Any questions, you will be answered at the end of the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Senthil Kumar. That was very, very informative, and I hope that everyone has an idea of what is required in order to apply for medical schools in the UK. So now my next speaker is Abhishek. He's a second-year medical student at Plymouth University. He likes to help other A-level students get into medical universities. He's also a famous TikToker, so if you don't follow him, go and follow him. He will be talking about extracurricular activities and volunteering. Over to you, Abhi.
Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you can see the slides. So my name is Abhi, and I'm a second-year medical student at Peninsula Medical School. Before I begin, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the organisers for allowing me to share my thoughts. As about a few years ago, I was sitting where all of you aspiring medical students are. So my presentation is on extracurricular activities and why they're important. And I believe, they're very important to get into medical school. The way I see it is your grades, it allows you to be considered. However, your extracurricular activities guarantees your admission. So this is what I'm going to cover today. So a little bit of introduction about myself. As you're already aware, I'm a second year medic, but during high school and A-levels, I used to really put myself out there for extracurricular activities, especially the vocational ones. So between year 7 to 11, I was on the student council and decision-making bodies. I furthered this by applying and successfully becoming the member of youth parliament for my area And during my A-levels, I applied to be the head boy for my school. Doing all this and many more vocational activities and volunteering activities has evolved my personality and allowed me to be the individual I am today. So I'd say doing extracurricular activities really changes you as a person and makes you better, and it helps you grow. So where did I apply? So I applied to Leeds, Plymouth, Brighton, Sussex, and Queen's Belfast. And the reason I applied to those choices were because I applied based on my academic stats. So I didn't get the highest academic stats for UKCAT or BMAT. I was not your average top performing student. I was quite mediocre. But then I still had the hope within me that I can do medicine. So I had to choose places which really looked at my application as a strength rather than like other universities or rankings in general. So the academic criteria, which has already been mentioned, but for GCSEs, I think you need a minimum of all sixes and Bs and some As in sciences. And for A-levels, most people do biology and chemistry, which is quite the safe option. But I think you need either one of biology and chemistry and 2 more sciences. And the successful candidates have AAA attainment. And for the UCAT, the average is around 2,500. So the extracurricular activities, you should structure it in different areas. So you should look for extracurricular activities which have a volunteering aspect, a leadership aspect, a sporting aspect, and you should also add in some personal hobbies. You can even do courses, summer courses, tutoring, and you should look for skills which include like teamwork, communication, leadership, empathy, compassionate. No one's asking you to go and be the next national badminton player or go be like a social activist. You just have to do something to demonstrate to the medical schools that you're a really involved person. And the reason they look at extracurricular activities is because they don't just want a student. They're looking for like an asset who can add to the university as well and something you can take from them as well. So the sequence of organizing work experience, this is actually quite a difficult one, and most people, and it's kind of hard to get work experience because it's always in high demand, especially for medicine. So I'd say, first of all, politely request your family or friends. So if you know any uncles or aunties who are doctors of yours or work in the healthcare industry, you should start contacting them as soon as possible. Then maybe ask your school and colleges. School and colleges normally have great links with the local hospitals and local GP practice, and they can guide you further from there. I got my work experience through volunteering, and through volunteering, I volunteered for a long time, and they had great connections with the local, directors of the hospital. So they were able to organize my work experience for me. You can even use social media. There's lots of advertisements and lots of links on social media nowadays to help people get the work experience they need. And you can persistently just write to your hospitals or GP. So these are basically the tips and summary I have. I'd say for now, focus on your science, technology, your STEM subjects. Carry out wider reading so you can just get a general understanding for medicine on why I'd like to do it. Go to any science clubs because research is actually a key element through med school, and getting into the practice early will be really beneficial. Volunteer wherever possible because volunteering will in turn actually help you in your interview performance because it's developing you as a person. And when it comes to interview stage, you've already got some of the qualities they're looking for. Show your passion for medicine and be engaging. Just try to get involved. Just, if you have that goal, if you have that vision, do everything you can to work for it. And don't look at it as a burden. Look at it as a hobby. Look at it as something you enjoy, and you'll make the most of it. I'd say it will help if you decide as early as possible so you can get your mind in gear and focused. And once you've committed and have faith on to study medicine, remember these 3 words. These 3 words actually carry me until now, which is commitment, perseverance, and resilience. Results don't come easy and they don't come straight away, but they will come. And that is what's important to remember. I'd say you need to have a really good family/friendship support group, your close friends who you can always open up to. And just remember that medicine is not a one-person journey. It is a whole a team effort. There will be a lot of competitive behavior which could come across as hate comments. Just ignore that. If you have the desire, you will get through. If you don't do well at one stage, do not worry because there's so many different aspects to the admissions criteria, and you will all have your strengths. So make sure you know what your strengths are and power through and make sure you ace that. I just like to end up by saying good luck and my heartiest best wishes, and I'm sure you'll get where you need to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby, for that very informative presentation on extracurricular activities. Please keep posting your questions in the chat box and we will try and answer them. For those who are watching on our YouTube channel, also please post your chat box questions in the chat box there on YouTube and we will do our best to answer those questions as well. So now I will move on to my next speaker, who is also another medical student, Aditya. He's a third-year medical student at Nottingham University. He too likes to help out others in getting into medical unis, and he'll be talking about choosing universities. So over to you, Aditya.
Hi, my name's Aditya. I'm a third-year medical student at the University of Nottingham. And I'm here to talk about one of the most important yet often overlooked aspects of the journey to medicine, which is applying strategic to medical schools based on your strengths and weaknesses. So over the summer between year 12 and year 13, you'll obviously be very busy with your UCAT preparations. You'll start drafting your personal statements as well. But at the same time, it's crucial over that summer that you start thinking about which 4 universities that you are going to end up applying at the end of the UCAS cycle. Because often people forget the importance of choosing 4 universities that are most suited to your strengths, because every single university across the country has differing requirements. And every single student has a different set of, their portfolio is very different. So some people have very high GCSEs and perhaps a more average UCAT score and vice versa. So my main piece of advice would be to spend a lot of time having a look at the different requirements of each medical school. And often you can find it just on the prospectus of the website. They'll often release an admissions criteria document, which can be found on the university's website itself. So what you need to do is you need to be very thorough in looking through each and every university, because despite the fact that every city has its own advantages and disadvantages, at the end of the day, the most important thing in this journey is getting a seat at medical school. So what you need to be doing is you need to, especially once you've got your UCAT score, you then have your GCSEs and you have your UCAT score to then compare and contrast which ones you should be applying to. So for example, with me, what I did was over the summer was I sat for over a week with my mum and we went through every single medical school in the country. And we thought, okay, this university is a risky choice for me. This is the one that could be a safe one and one that perhaps I will end up securing an interview for. So likewise, you need to go through each university's prospectus and see ultimately which 4 universities are most likely to invite you for interview, because at the end of the day, it's all about increasing your chances of being successful in your application. So for example, from the top of my head, there's some universities like Sheffield and Leicester that are very, very clear on their website about what they're looking for. So you can use that information to your advantage, because all the information, all the resources are out there. You just need to go and do that digging because a lot of the time that information, people don't know it's there, but it's always there on the website for you to have a look at. So what you need to do is you need to go through these different criteria and pick out what you think is the best fit for you. And once you've done that, you can start narrowing it down. So I had a draft of maybe 10 potential universities that I was thinking of applying to. And what I did then was I narrowed it down thinking, okay, so this university I'm likely to receive an interview for. And then you can also have a look at the interview to offer ratio, because often some universities will give out very few interviews. But once you have the interview, you're in a very good position to then convert that interview into an offer. So just to reiterate, my main point again is just being really, really critical and being really, how do I put it? You need to be very selective in which 4 choices you do end up going for, because at the end of the day, it is very, very competitive to get an interview at any medical school. So to boost your chances, you should be being very strict with where you're applying to, and that will serve you very well. In terms of which 4 universities to select, what I did was you need to tier them and group them into different choices. So some universities will have slightly lower requirements. So those universities you could have as like a backup option. So if maybe on the day you think, okay, I'll apply to here as a safe option, and then you can have a riskier choice as well, because some universities, obviously they're asking for A star AA, some universities are even 2 A stars in there, I think, but the majority of them are requiring you to get 3 A's in your A levels. And also in terms of BMAT as well, I'm not sure about this particular admission cycle, but usually the BMAT is you sit your BMAT after you receive your, after you submit your UCAS application. So you need to also bear in mind that because you're applying without knowing what your BMAT score actually is, it's really important to factor in how your performance will be on the day. So for example, you don't want to apply to too many BMAT unis at the same time, because your UCAT score is already with you. You know exactly what you've got, you know where you stand. So it's really important to make that clear judgment. Okay, so I'm going to apply to 1 BMAT uni or 3 UCAT unis. And then if your UCAT score is very strong, my recommendation would be to always apply to as many UCAT unis as possible, unless obviously you're very keen on attending Imperial, UCL, Leeds, or those of you who have aspirations for Oxbridge as well. Then you should maybe put some more focus into the BMAT. But it is really important to set timings as well, because it all comes around very fast, particularly over the summer period, because you finish your UCAT, you finish your personal statement, and then before you know it, you're already into A levels. So it's important to have like a clear strategy going into the academic year in year 13. And that would be my best advice, to just be really spend a lot of time on this, because a lot of people, they apply, very smart students that I know with fantastic grades, they're just applying to universities that aren't suited to their particular strengths. So my advice, again, just to reiterate again, is just to be really focus your choices, and then I'm sure you'll all be very successful. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Aditya, on that very insightful presentation about choosing universities. And I hope that this helps everyone on this talk to figure out which unis will be the best for them. So now I'd like to call upon my next speaker, Dr. Matharu. He's a dental surgeon with over 30 years clinical, managerial, and executive experience working in both the private and NHS sector. He's an executive in his companies and lectured on business development and entrepreneurialism in dentistry. He also lectures within schools on interview techniques and mentor underprivileged candidates in preparation for medical and dental interviews. He has always had a keen interest in mentoring A-level students in preparation for university application interviews. He has also been a magistrate on the West Yorkshire bench for nearly 20 years. This talk will be on careers in dentistry. Over to you, Dr. Matharu.
Can you see me and can you hear me?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, hi. So first of all, thank you to Priya and Ezhil for inviting me to speak on this program today. So as Priya said, I suppose I'm the outlier for this discussion, because my topic of conversation is about dentistry. I do want to touch a little bit more on interviews and the interview techniques, because generically speaking, whether you're having an interview for dentistry or medicine or any other career for that matter, there are certain building blocks that you have to have in place. And those building blocks really should start as early as possible. Nothing to suggest that even year 9, year 10, 11, 12, 13, you start thinking about the career that you're going to enter. But the sooner and the earlier you begin to think, I guess the easier the preparation can become. So first of all, I'll just touch on the dentistry side, because I was asked to talk a little bit about dentistry. For those of you who are aware, and I'm sure everybody here knows what dentistry is, it's the study of the diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of diseases, disorders, and conditions of the oral cavity. You'll be more familiar with the dentist in terms of prevention, routine, fillings, treatments, extractions, root canals, etc. As far as the pathway is concerned, it's not that different to medicine. It's an incredibly competitive process that starts really in terms of attaining high GCSE grades and then going on to achieve high A-level grades. It does also involve sitting the UK CAT or the BMAT. And I think in terms of on par, it's probably as difficult to get into dentistry as it is in medicine. I believe there are 37 medical schools in the UK. There are 16 dental schools. And I think it's a 20-to-1 application success rate. So it is an incredibly competitive procedure. I'm not going to talk too much about dentistry other than I guess it's a 5-year training process at university. And once you qualify, the options are probably a little bit like the medics. You can stay in the hospital sector, or you can come into general practice. And if you come into general practice, the options are to stay in the National Health Service or go into the private sector. Something that I just wanted to touch on earlier on, because I think one of the other speakers did mention it. If you still have a vocation to do medicine or dentistry, please don't forget that for those candidates who have done other A-levels, not including the chemistries or the biologies, there is an option to do what's called a pre-dental or a pre-medical year, which is an extra foundation year, which allows you some sort of baseline knowledge at the university. It's a 1-year, we used to call it a BDS1 foundation year. And if you successfully were to pass that, you are then eligible to go on to do the full medical or dental course. The second part I wanted to talk about really was more in terms of preparation for interviews. Most candidates actually fail because of the lack of preparation and actually knowing the process of interviews. So whether you are year 11, 12 or 13, it's important that you think about planning the process of the interview. And by that, what I mean is at those years, you have to learn to become very efficient with your time. This is crucial because I guess in year 11, 12 and 13, and particularly year 13, it will feel like there's a juggernaut approaching in the upper 6. And so it's important that you sort of compartmentalize and pigeonhole all the things you have to do in terms of research and preparation for interview. Now, some of the schools that I work in Leeds, we start early preparations for interviews during the GCSE years, and it gives them the opportunity to have practice runs for a year and a half, sometimes even 2 years, because an interview process, despite what you might think, is an incredibly competitive process. And you know, for those of you now, you might be watching Squid Games, etc. It is literally survival of the fittest. Those who prepare well will probably have the best chances of success at the interview. So it's something that you really, really have to get around and prepare from an early stage. There are lots of things actually that interviewers look for that we may not consider when thinking about applying to medicine or dentistry or other careers. I mean, a simple statistic, for example, is, did you know that 33% of interviewers decide in the first 90 seconds whether or not you'll make the count? I mean, it's an interesting concept. There are lots of things that contribute to a successful interview, and it's not just about content and knowledge. At an early age, you've got to really understand that something like 55% in interviews is in some way is to do with the way that you dress, the way that you act, the way that you walk through the door. Some 38%, I think, is to do with voice grammar and your self-confidence. And obviously in subjects like medicine and dentistry, it's really, really important to know the subject matter. I mean, that I'm not denying. But one thing that's you can prepare for is the ability to communicate. And I think sometimes you find when students get into the 6th form and they want preparation for interviews, you can almost just feel it's a little bit too late. So one thing I would say is that you must start preparing early. You must really think about content and how you're going to communicate. And it's not just verbal, it's about dress, appearance, your voice, your tone. Pre-COVID, the way we even used to have a handshake. Little things like your body posture and eye contact, incredibly important in terms of small pointers in terms of how to have an interview successfully. There is that saying that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So it is important for medicine and dentistry to show an empathetic role, to be able to demonstrate. And I found, more importantly, recently, through voluntary work rather than necessarily D of E or piano grade 9. Certainly in the personal statements, they're looking for things like, you know, how much voluntary work are you doing? How much do you care about yourself, about your communities, about your environment, and how much do you care about the world in general? And it's becoming quite an interesting focus, certainly when it comes to interviewing. So it's really a broad spectrum approach, but I wanted to take everybody back one stage just to the fundamental building blocks of the interview process. It is a very, very important stage. It's something that can be rehearsed. It's something that can be practiced. And like most things, the more you do, the better you will become at it. So Dr. Ezhil has our contact. If we can be of help to anyone, please contact us, and we're more than happy to mentor and give you advice. I think I've taken up my 5 minutes, so thank you everybody for listening. I'll pass you back to Priya.
Priya, you are on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Dr. Mathuru, on that very insightful information about dentistry, and hopefully that's helpful for those that want to go into dentistry. So now I'd like to call upon our next speaker, Dr. Raji Anand. She is going to be talking about the role of the parent. Dr. Raji Anand is a general practitioner in Bradford. She is interested in teaching. Perhaps this is motivated by her parents, who are both college professors in India. She is a trainer for GP registrars in her GP practice, where she is a partner. Over to you, Dr. Raji Anand.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you. So we've got brilliant minds, young minds who are medical aspirants here, and it is so lovely to see you all. My talk today is about, you've obviously heard about why you choose to be a doctor, the journey about it, the universities, how you choose, and so on. But my talk today is to the parents who are here. Who better than them, who are your best support system, who are your best well-wishers? Because as parents, I think it's, when you look at it, this medical journey process is the single most and incredibly challenging process. You've heard all the other speakers speaking in front of me, and you can kind of surmise how much of is expected of a 17-year-old. And clearly, as the parents, you could be their best mentor, you can be their facilitator in trying to help tease it out and breaking it down into little aspects of it, so that it is something that they kind of, through the process, they can be very successful in their destination to a medical school. So if you look at it, it is almost a marathon that they need to run. And a marathon is only feasible if there is endurance, fitness, but also the background work that goes into it. It is about training. So clearly, it's pretty much the same. A lot of homework, ground upwards, it needs to be built in, and it's a slow, steady process of accumulating knowledge. You've done a brilliant, kind of taken up the opportunity to attend this kind of meeting, because you need to gather as much as information as possible. And when you start, you break it down into different smaller aspects, so that then you can start focusing on individual aspects of it. So if you look at it, AS level is the kind of stage where you need to start looking into all aspects of what are you need to be doing in the upcoming year or two, because the entire process, the journey, you need to be aware of the timelines, you need to be aware of what you need to be doing upfront, say, for example, if you look at the subjects that you choose, you can, it's very important. A lot of people tend to think that tutors are only people who are struggling in their subjects, but actually tutors can make the students gain confidence, because confidence, they need to be flourishing in what they need to do. The grades that are expected by universities are not going to be unreasonable ask, because it's so highly competitive. So thereby, to gain that kind of grades, A star and A, if the chosen subject is something they clearly have chosen it because they like it, but there might be areas where they struggle. So thereby, trying a tutor who will best fit your child's needs is something a parent can very well facilitate. Now that everything is possibly virtual, you can get a tutor who's down from Oxford or even from Scotland, but whoever will be best suited for your children's need, I think it would be a valuable kind of whichever subject. Some people choose to have tutors for all 3 A-levels, but at least for the subjects which they think that, because the tutors can encapsulate and give the information that can be so easily done. And it is actually, at the end of the day, getting the grades that is most important. So clearly that aspect of it, parents can give a lot of input into it, look into a tutor which is the best fit for their children, and clearly looking into the other aspects of it. Be aware that extracurriculars, they want medical students, schools want, universities want children who are well-rounded. So they would have done a lot of extracurricular throughout their academic years leading up to now. Make sure that you're putting it all together in a kind of a timely manner, because by the time it comes to the personal statement, you're not grappling around trying to find out what they have done so far. So have a bit of maybe a folder, something that way you start gradually accumulating, because as I said, it is all about the groundwork, the kind of homework that you do into this process. And work experience, again, gives them a lot of insight into the area that they are going into, medical schools, and thereby, however possible, try to get work experience. And now the other aspect is, again, work experience is available virtually. I'm not sure whether many of you are aware. A lot of universities offer work experience over the weekends, which can be done as a kind of a virtual tour. And the other aspect of work experience, as rightfully suggested by my previous speaker as well, it is about making sure you get the volunteering done. And a lot of councils, if you say, for example, we live in Bradford councils, our young voluntary groups are available, and thereby the more you show that you've got a compassionate and a helpful nature, then that would be will be a great asset to you in your personal statement. So make sure you've got everything under your belt, but AS level is the time that you can have to do all this rightfully in place. And a lot of children might be aware, but the parents might not be aware as well. EPQ is a golden opportunity that's given to you. A lot of schools offer EPQ, and with EPQ, what it gives you a backup peace of mind that several universities, if you confirm them, then they are willing to drop a grade if you've got an A in EPQ, and thereby it is another golden opportunity. And all the groundwork that you can be done in AS level, though it would be in the A level that you submit your final EPQ project, all the kind of homework can be done at the level of your AS. So AS is an year where you put in all your preparation in place, thereby you can kind of start gradually building it up. So the summer leading up to, obviously, the A level is when you take your UCAT and your BMAT. And again, I can't emphasize enough that there are umpty number of courses available, but choose the one which will be rightful for your child. Because as a parent, you can be, you know your child the best. There's nobody else who would be the best, be able to help them with that process. Thereby, there's quite a few of them that come to mind, like Kaplan, Medic Portal, Medic Mind, and so on. But there are certain aspects of it. Choose one or two which will be best fit for your child. And thereby, once you kind of help them with that process, then that kind of gives them the best scores possible. And again, when it comes to the personal statement as well, as much as possible, help them with the drafts, sit with them, because it is, as I keep reiterating, for a 17-year-old, you can imagine the amount of not only kind of the process as such, but the amount of information, the knowledge, and what is expected of them is absolutely immense. And thereby be with them, sit with them, go through the drafts, pass it on to friends and who have been in, who might be in the medical field, pass it on to other, in fact, schools, most schools also offer to look at their personal statement, as many people as you can to help kind of name it down in such a way that your child might have done a lot of things, but making sure that they are putting it together in the proper format. The other process as well, the interviews. Again, there are medical students already here who have volunteered. So in the interview process as well, as again, Jas was saying, interviews are when you can best sell yourself. And for that, the child needs to have the confidence to be able to speak eloquently, to be able to kind of sell themselves as the best candidate. And for that, they need to be able to have a best practice, and the practice makes perfection, as you would all know. So give them the opportunity. As parents, you've obviously will want the best for them. And in that process, I think it's very, very important that you support them. And once they get the offers, there is a certain aspect of it we see quite often, that children tend to have this kind of lackadaisical attitude where they take the foot off their pedal. Again, it's about you as parents being there, making sure, gently nudging in the right direction, because they're halfway there, but getting the grades. The offer is brilliant, but you need to get the grades. You need to meet the offer. So thereby making sure that you give a conducive environment, make sure that you are being their friend almost. And it is a team effort. I think Abhishek mentioned about it, and I agree. This is not a single candidate who is getting this goal is not what it is. It's about the team effort of the entire family coming together. So make sure that they don't have an early burnout. That is important too. So it's getting that fine balance. The balance should be right, making sure that they are able to progress in the right direction, but at each stage, be their mentor, be their facilitator, almost as a friend, because sometimes they need to have their breaks. They need to go out with their friends. So it is important making sure that let them talk at times, because sometimes they get moody. They want to go to their room. Let them be there, but be there for them whenever they want to come to you, because apart from their parents, sometimes it's very difficult to understand what they're going through. So make sure they get well nutritive diet. Getting their sleep is so important because it is such a tiresome process. So as parents, be sure, be there for them right through this journey. Your role as a positive parent role is immense, and there's nothing more that you can do for your child at this stage, is to be there for them and be there right through this journey so that they can reach the gratifying goal of a medical student into their uni of their preference and their choice. Thank you, everyone. Best wishes to all.
Okay, thank you, Raji, for your advice to parent, as a parent and as a doctor. I just wanted to remind people that if you are unable to join on Zoom, you can always, watch it on our YouTube channel. And we also plan to record this and post it on our YouTube channel by Monday. We will also post our last year's event, so that if you missed any topic for this year, you can catch up. After this, we are planning to have mock interview sessions on November 13th, Saturday, and Saturday, the January 8th. We plan to have 2 mock sessions. So if you want to make a note in your diary, this is only for year 13 students who have got an interview offer, and we plan to do it over Zoom online. So wherever you are, you can join us. More details will be on our website, which is www.educatetheworld.co.uk. And if you are part of our WhatsApp group, we will keep you posted. If you are not part of our WhatsApp group, I have put the WhatsApp link on our chat box on Zoom. Please do join the group. And if you have any comments, please do post your comments on the WhatsApp box. And if you have any queries, please again post it on the group. We'll try to answer them. As I said, we wanted to end on time. We still have 25 minutes to go. Before we go on to the next speaker, just wanted to let you know that some people last year, they wanted some private tutoring. And if you do want a private tutoring, our medical students, Abhishek, Aditya, or Abhimanyu, they are willing to spare their time. So you can contact them directly to negotiate with them their time. And I believe they charge a very minimum fee, which you can negotiate with them. Their details will be available on our website as well. You can look at their phone numbers, or we'll also put it on the chat box. So you can make a note of them and contact the three of them for now. So over to you, Priya, to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. I have put in, I have put our website in the chat box, so feel free to go ahead and visit our website for all the relevant information that Dr. Anand has just said. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is a medical student, Abhi. He is a third-year medical student, also at Nottingham University. He is going to talk about applying to medical schools in the UK from India and abroad. Over to you, Abhi.
Hey everyone, my name is Abhi. I'm a third-year medical student at the University of Nottingham. I'm really hoping my Wi-Fi doesn't cut out. Our Wi-Fi in the student house isn't amazing. But what I'm going to say applies more to international students, but applies equally to anyone applying to med school as a whole. So the first thing is international student. It goes without saying, but I think you have to put in a little more effort with your application. It's just because home students have about 200 to 300 places, depending on the med school, while international students have about 10 to 20. Nottingham, for example, has around 23 places. And when you're fighting, when you're being pulled against a very large pool of students, and there's 20 seats, it is quite difficult. So it's important to try to refine every part of your application. And I think that begins with the UCAT. And this is the same for even home students, obviously. Doing well in the UCAT is extremely, extremely important. I think I did quite well in the UCAT, and I think that helped me, that made my entire process a lot easier. How to do well in the UCAT, the only resource, I think the only resource I needed personally was Medify. They have a lot of questions, they have a lot of practice exams. So what I would do is definitely try to use that resource as much as you can. I remember before my exam, I did about 10,000 or 9,000 questions, something like that. So when it came exam time, I was really well prepared. And so what I would say is there's a limited amount of exams, practice exams on their website. Try to space them out between the period, try to space it out between your preparation period, essentially, so that you don't finish all of them before too early or too late, essentially. The next thing I would say is, as an international student, it's important to know the other exams you might have to do. You might have to do the IELTS for your visa. You also might not have to, so I would definitely look into that. I was coming in here from Dubai, so I did need to do the IELTS, and it didn't take too long, but it took a little bit of preparation. So if you need to do it, I would definitely start working on it early. The next thing I want to say is, it's really, really important to find a place that you actually want to stay and want to spend the next 5 years in. As an international student, it's a bit more difficult because obviously, I didn't know much about Nottingham before I came here, but for a home student, they might have a bit more knowledge about the places next to them. So if you can come to the UK, come and visit, that's amazing. If you can't come to visit, then I would definitely try to do a virtual tour or speak to students who are in that university. So you can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them on forums like Student Room. Definitely try to find students in the university you're trying to get into, speak to them, find out what the city's like. Because remember that you are going to spend the next 5 years there. And even if you love the course, if you hate where you're living and you don't like the culture and you don't like the people, it's going to be really difficult to enjoy the course. Right. So another thing to remember is that you do have to fly over for interviews. So that's really important. I remember when I was applying, a couple of my friends realized really late that they had to fly over here. They thought that all of the interviews could be done online. Things might be different now because of COVID, but I would still be prepared to fly because you never know. If you have to come here, then I guess you have to. Right. And on the topic of interviews, what I would say is this applies to home students as well. learn a little bit about the NHS, learn about the 4 pillars of medical ethics. So for me, for example, before I came here, I didn't really have much of an idea of how the NHS worked. Obviously, as a home student, you might have more of an idea, but me personally, I had no clue. So it was really important to get that research done, because you can be asked about it in interviews. So definitely have an idea about the NHS. Lastly, also I would say apply to the universities that don't require you to apply through UCAS. So the 2 of them are the University of Central Lancashire and Buckingham. So even if you're a home student, I'll definitely look into those, and just to have a backup option if for some reason you don't get into the university that you wanted to. I think that's all I wanted to say. I hope I haven't gone above my time, and I'll hand it over to Priya now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Abhi. That was very, very informative. I hope that gives an idea for those students who are abroad and would want to come to the UK for medicine. So for now, we go on to our next speaker. Now, some of you might want to go to the US to study medicine, either as a first choice, or if you have had difficulties in getting to medical school in the UK. So we have Mrs. Anita Butt. She is the Vice President at American University of Barbados School of Medicine. She has lived and worked in many countries around the world in the medical industry. Her talk is about studying medicine at American universities. We shall now play a video before her talk. There's one, yeah. Over to you, Mrs. Anita Butt.
Thank you, Priya. Good evening, everybody. I'm Anita Butt, talking to you from New York. We all know how difficult, stressful, and long process this is to become a doctor. Am I right? After hearing from all of you, I really felt that it is so stressful. At the same time, we also know there is a big demand for physicians around the world. So what do we do for this? There are students who are very, very passionate about becoming a doctor. However, there is so many constraints. Everyone said, work hard, study this. But at the same time, there are students who cannot meet all these things. I want to give a message to students and parents who are passionate to become doctors. Please don't give up. There's hope. And there is a big chance that you can become a doctor. I want to talk about American University of Barbados. American University of Barbados is located in Barbados. It is a sister concern of Eras Lucknow Medical School, which is an third upcoming medical school in India. Let me tell you about our program. There are 2 programs we have. One is 5.5 years for A-level graduates and 4 years for college graduates. In 5.5 years program, we have 1.5 years of pre-med and 2 years of basic sciences, which are done in Barbados. And last 2 years, you will be doing you will be getting trained in the hospital, teaching hospitals of United States. In 4 years program, you're not doing 1.5 years of pre-med. So you're doing 2 years of basic sciences in Barbados and last 2 years in United States. So basically, we are training you to become a doctor in USA. That's our first goal. However, you can practice anywhere in the world with our degree. You get MD after completing our session, after our training. And this MD is recognized worldwide. So you can go to UK, take lab exam or any MCI exam in India or anywhere else. So let me tell you why you should join AUB. Like I said before, we have a very smooth admission process and easy. And also every passionate student can apply. Don't worry about your grades. Our assessment committee will see how passionate you are, whether you can study or not. And we have a way of teaching, which is integrated, problem-based, with 3D animation and video games, which will make anybody, any passionate student to become a doctor. And also, above all, please remember, this is fully accredited and affordable medical school. So you can become a doctor in United States, practice in US or anywhere else in the world. Thank you. And you can always contact me or Dr. Anand for my contact. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anita Butt. That was very, very informative. I hope those that wish to study abroad or in the US for medicine knows what to do. So now I will call upon our final speaker, Mr. Ramdil Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas is a senior engineer working at ABB and holds a MBA management degree. He is going to talk about a positive attitude and mindset required to achieve your goals. Over to you, Mr. Ramdil.
Thank you, Priya, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. There are a lot of good speakers. They spoke a lot of information. Life and success is all depends upon what kind of mindset you have. That is very important for you to have a right mindset to have achievements in life. Now, coming to medical profession is a great profession. It's a very rewarding profession, personally, professionally, and financially. So I congratulate for you embarking on those journey. So my topic is growth mindset. So when I start talking about growth mindset, we need to know what is growth mindset. Let me give you start with the basic definition of it. Actually, a growth mindset is having the right mindset. It believes in two set of beliefs. Actually, one is everyone is capable of achieving anything and learning anything. So the possibilities are there. And struggle and failure might be necessary, but effort and perseverance can make you to achieve things. So when you start a medical education, the journey just starts now. The exams and success, it continues. After you finish your degree, you go to the first year, second year, then you go to final year, you go to the job, you go for an interview. So success and failure is part of life. So the thing is how to turn failure into success. And that is where this growth mindset comes. Interestingly, the research was done by Dr. Carol Dweck, who was a professor from Stanford University. In the years of research, groundbreaking research, she found that there's a powerful relationship between achievement and mindset. And then when you have the right mindset, yes, you can achieve. So achieving great success in life is all about adopting the right mindset. So how do you get it there? So to understand growth mindset, you also need to understand what is a fixed mindset and what is a growth mindset. So fixed mindset is people believe that intelligence are born. It's a fixed right. It's not something that you can acquire it. But growth mindset, intelligence can be grown actually, and you can develop it, and you can through dedication and effort, and you can achieve that. So once you understand these things, how to navigate, how to get that type of right mindset. So if I give a simple example, let's say there are two students studying in the fourth year, Mr. X and Mr. Y, and they want to pursue orthopedics. They all along want to pursue orthopedics. They've been bright students. They got good grades in A-level. They sailed through the medical school. They're there now. And they decided to go to the operation theater, and they watch the seniors operating in one of the orthopedic surgery. They find it gross, actually, completely grotesque, full of blood, tissues, broken bones, and broken limbs and everything. So they find it very hard to watch that thing. And then they watch them, how they saw this thing, they drill it, they plate it, they fix it, all those things they watch. And they come back, they try in the lab themselves. They try to saw something, they don't have the dexterity to switch other tissues or fix a ligament. And they try some bones drilling, is not coming naturally for them. Both X and Y feels the same thing. X comes thinking, okay, am I thinking the right way? Is it me to take the orthopedics? Is the right profession for me? I'm not getting, it's not coming naturally to me. I can't saw it, I can't drill it, I can't even see it. So I'm going to become orthopedician. That's what he's thinking. Then later on he thinks, strongly believes in that thing, I'm not able to do it. I'm going to fail if I take orthopedics. I should pursue something else, pediatrics or a GP, whatever it is. The Y comes thinking, okay, well, I tried in the lab myself. I tried to saw it. It's not coming naturally to me. I face the same difficulties. But he thinks, yes, well, I can't do it now. But if I go more time, possibly I'll get used to these surgeries, used to blood, used to seeing these broken limbs and so on. And by taking some efforts, I can practice myself sawing and drilling and everything at home using a wooden leg or whatever it is, and I can gain this thing. So the difference between X and Y, X is having a fixed mindset, whereas Y has got a growth mindset. So when you have a growth mindset, you can overcome your failures and the problems that you face in life, and you can achieve. And that is a concept, and that has been proven actually. So when you practice anything, I think Ezhil told perspiration is key thing. That is also part of it. The first thing is you need to think positively how you can achieve things, how you can get that, what you can do. You have to believe in yourself. The core beliefs that you need to develop. It's easier said than done. And we all do self-talk, is it not? When you don't get something, when you fail something, oh, I failed, I can't do it, maths is not coming, or physics is not coming so easily for me. But when you start thinking a positive self-talk, yes, I can do it if I take some efforts, and I can practice a bit more, and if I have the right attitude, and I can get it. So that's the thing. That is the one thing people have to develop. So as a medical student or any student and anybody achieving anything, even life in my profession all along, I faced all these situations because from the job interview to so many things. We achieved by developing a right mindset. And we all know Steve Jobs is one of the biggest CEO of Apple, and he was not a computer man. He was never talented in computer, but he believed that he can produce a product and that will be the best in the world. And because of his strong belief, he was able to achieve that. And Apple was able to provide a product which they have not even imagined. That is only possible because of Steve Jobs' beliefs. So that's the thing about growth mindset. So as a student, is something you need to go. You're going through, walk through a lot of lives. Success and failure carries all the way through. And when you have growth mindset, you look at failure, not as failures, actually. You look at failures as an opportunity to learn and opportunity to get better. That's how we look at it. And once you have that develop that type of mindset, and you can achieve anything, because everything is possible. Dr. Sendil Kumar also said in his speech, and if you fail, you don't get medical seat now, what do? You just give up? No, you don't give up. You go on, and there are other opportunities to get it. You can go for the pre-medical course, or you can come on a mature entry, and it's possible. And I have come across a lot of people who have been successful like that. In fact, last 2 weeks before, there's one of my colleagues' daughter. She did a course on sports degree she did, and she used to go to the hospital. Mother was having a cancer, and she struggled. Suddenly she came, and I should do medicine. She never done chemistry or physics or anything, any of those subjects. She went on a mature entry. She struggled with chemistry. She was always poor in maths. She was considered dyslexic. She continued, and today she became medicine. She became a GP, actually. His father told me very proudly, and he works with me. So with that, I need to, I want to say that everything is possible. great things always come just within. Actually, once you develop that strong belief in you, and develop a dedicated way of working, and follow this process, and you can get it. And in this medical thing, I'll give you some of these books that's written by Carl Dweck. And I'll put the link in this one. That'll be useful going to with that thing. I just want to wish you all the best in your journey to the medical school and further in your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramdal. Now I pass over to Dr. Anand to start the question and answer session.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Priya. And thanks, Ramdal, for an inspiring perspective, especially from an engineer's point of view. I'm pleased to see that more than about 200 people took part at one time, took part in this seminar through YouTube and on our Zoom channel. Our next main event is on November 13th. So as I said again, please make a note in your diary if you have got a university offer, and we'll post details soon. Future plans, like Dr. Jas was mentioning about communication skills and the importance. So we are actually planning to have physically, now that we are hopefully, COVID getting over soon, in Leeds, we are planning to have some sort of tutoring face-to-face for entry to medical schools. And also there are some doctors who want some advice on PLAB. So we are planning to do those things. And also in future, UCAT and BMAT. I mean, please bear in mind, we are all full-time professionals. We just started doing this. I mean, we all have our own 9-to-5 jobs. So we started doing that in a spirit to help the community. And then because of the need, we are expanding further. So more details soon. Being a doctor, we all have our social responsibility. And one of the social responsibility is to inform and advise people about COVID and vaccination. We have done numerous programs through our media about importance of, especially vaccination among what we call the BAME community especially in UK. And we have today, briefly, before we go on to our question and answer session, we are running a bit late. Hopefully, if you can bear with us for 15 more minutes, we'll go through all the questions you have put in the chat box. But before that, I would like to invite Dr. Anil Shenoy, who is a pediatrician, who is very conscientious and very caring professional. And I sometimes wonder, probably, all pediatricians are like that. So if you want to be a child specialist, probably he's someone whom you can look to emulate. And he's going to talk to us briefly about the importance of COVID vaccination in children. As you might know, now we are in a phase in UK and throughout the world where children are being vaccinated, and there are some concerns about the side effects. And Anil is going to talk to us briefly about it. Over to you, Anil.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm not sure I could stand up to what you have just mentioned, but all the same, I'm here to talk to you about COVID vaccination, and more so about a clinical study that we are taking part in. This is called COMCOV study, which is basically the COMCOV3 study. It's a clinical trial looking at the role of COVID-19 vaccination. So as you know, till now, most adults in the UK have had double vaccination, but we know very little about children's vaccination as how effective it is. And that is where the COMCOV study actually comes. So I'm hoping to recruit in Bradford and perhaps beyond Bradford as well, children who have had their first vaccination, but now we are thinking of doing a second, who would perhaps need a second vaccination. So essentially children aged between 12 and 16 years of age. So even children who have had their first vaccination up to the age of 16, we would be very keen to recruit. I will put some links up about the ComCoff study on in the Zoom link itself, and well, I can talk to you about the advantages of doing so, because as you well know, COVID has actually caused us a lot of trouble, not just in the UK, it's right across the world. So as parents and as children and as responsible citizens as much, the question is, how can we actually help not only ourselves, but the wider world itself? So the ComCoff study is something that we are actively looking to recruit. So we would be very keen and grateful for parents and children to take part in the study itself. So I think that I'll put some links up on the ComCoff study in the chat if you wish. But and we would also want children to take part in that study as well. So we are essentially looking at children, perhaps 16 if you wish, or even between 12 and 16, and more so the 16th birthday, who have already had one dose of their COVID vaccination. So I think I'll stop there. I won't say any more from here, but I would be, if you want any more information or you're willing to take part in the study, kindly do contact myself or Dr. Anand, and we would be very keen for you guys to take part. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anil. Now we move on to the questions. We wanted to finish on time. So one of you has asked, what extracurricular activities are best for medicine? Because I currently do science, netball, badminton, history, and art. Please provide a comprehensive list of universities, the weightage applied for UCAT grades, and personal statement. Can I call, first of all, Abhi, and then if anyone else, any of the speakers, they want to just raise your hand, and then I'll call you one by one. Over to you, Abhi. Can you just, everyone, in due to time, probably keep it very short to 30 seconds or less than a minute.
No worries. Hi, Uncle. Yeah, that's a brilliant question. So I'd say there's no such thing as required extracurricular activities. It's about what's the extracurricular activity adding to you and how it's developing you as a person. So you need something with good leadership, communication, teamwork, where you can show good management. So make sure you get a range of different extracurricular activities and not just sports or vocational ones. You need to be a well-rounded individual.
Okay, thank you, Abhi. I'll go to the next question. Which is easier, BMAT or UCAT? Very interesting question. Can I ask Aditya to answer it?
So from my experience, I actually only sat the UCAT exam, but a lot of my friends who were applying to other universities, they have information on that based on what they've told me about the BMAT. So the UCAT is it's a clinical aptitude test. So it's not like one of those normal exams that you may be used to sitting at school. This requires like quite a high degree of critical thinking. It's a very, very different exam in general. I think to fully understand what I'm talking about, you need to go through some past questions and have a look. So in the UCAT, there's 4 sections. The first is verbal reasoning, where you have to skim through passages of text and extract information. The second and third are decision making and abstract reasoning. So abstract reasoning is to do with pattern recognition amongst shapes. Decision making consists of Venn diagrams and once again trying to extract pieces of data. And then you have the quantitative reasoning section, which is a full maths-based section. So in terms of which one is more difficult, the BMAT is, I would say, from what I've heard, is probably easier to prepare for in the sense that it is more of an academic exam. So maybe like the ones you're used to sitting, so GCSEs, AS levels. But at the same time, I've also heard that the actual questions in the BMAT are quite challenging. And a lot of people have come away from the BMAT saying that, yep, it was quite a challenging exam. So I wouldn't say it's a case of saying which one's more difficult than the other. It's more to do with the fact that they both test different aspects of how you learn. So it entirely comes down to how you are as a learner in terms of which one is easier.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. Next question: at what age to start preparing for medical uni? Maybe I'll ask Jazz to answer the question. The question is, at what age to start preparing for medical university? Can you unmute yourself and speak, Jess, please?
Yeah, apologies. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yeah. I would say the earlier you start preparing, the better. I mean, first of all, it's quite difficult to decide at what age am I going to enter medicine or dentistry as a career, because you've had 13-year-olds who've had a lifelong ambition to be doctors. You've got 16. I mean, when I applied for dentistry, it was in the upper six that I decided that, okay, I want to do dentistry. So once you get a feeling that this is a vocation I wish to enter, then I think that's the time when you start exploring it. And I don't think it matters whether it's at 14, 16, or in the upper six. I think the important thing is to have the vocation of this is a career that I want to enter and commit to for 30, 40 years. So it's very important. Whenever you feel you get that urge, then it can be earlier or it can be as late as September in upper sixth. But I think once you decide, it's then very important to hone down and learn the skills for preparation of interviews and the UK CATs and the personal statements. Can I just add one other thing, Ellie, which was very, very important? And I think it encompasses everything that we've spoken about today. The one important piece of advice I would give for everything is, how can you as an individual stand out? So the one thing I would ask everybody to take away from today's discussion is ask yourself, how can I stand out in an interview, or how can I differentiate myself in my personal statement? Because when you're sitting as interviewers, as we do on this side of the desk, one thing that we'll always ask ourselves is, what makes that candidate different to everybody else? So that's something, whenever you have the opportunity, please explore that, because that will define your personal statement. And remember, it is a personal statement. Thanks, Ella.
Okay, thank you very much. And lots of questions on work experience. People are struggling to get work experience. I don't know if any of the speakers, you can unmute and add your comments.
Uncle, just to add on to work experience, I think people are always bogged down with the fact that, oh, I have to get hospital, I have to get GP practice. No, it's anywhere with a caring or clinical environment with transferable skills to medicine/dentistry. And it's not about how long or where and what hospital it is, it's about what you get from it. So any experience within that remit I've already mentioned is valid. And it's about how's that inspired you to be more motivated to apply to medicine or dentistry. So it's about what you take from it rather than what the actual experience it is within itself. So you don't need to be worried that, oh, he went to London Hospital and I'm doing it in a pharmacy clinic. They're both as valid as each other.
And I would also like to add to it, again, it is about work experience wherever you can in a medical setting. So the local nursing homes are very much approachable. Most nursing homes are very happy to take on when you're over 16. So approach nursing homes. The other very important aspect is ambulance service. I think that is not something many people are aware of, but ambulance services are very happy to have first aid responders training to young students who are aspiring as medical students. So do approach your local ambulance services. So as Abhi was stating, it is about trying to get as much as possible in any setting that is possible. It does, and what you take from it and how you kind of state that you have gained knowledge and kind of what more you can add to it is what they were expecting. Thank you.
And I think if I can just add one fine point to that as well, I think certainly in the last year, the year and a half during COVID, it's been quite difficult to get real work experience in general practice, and dental practice is no different. I think one thing that interviewers are also looking at is really what sort of background research then have you done via watching the YouTube videos. So, and what have you done via video learning? So, I mean, that's a good backup position to have if you haven't had the privilege of having any real life working experience in a hospital GP practice or a dental surgery.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Next question. People who are asking virtual link for volunteering in Leeds, Bradford area. I do sit on a board for Community Action Bradford, and I'm also an ambassador for volunteering in Bradford. So maybe if you can contact me after this and maybe WhatsApp me, I can send you the links in the next few days. Next question we have is, any recommendation for leadership summer course? I don't know, Jess, will you be able to, with your links in the school?
I think as far as a leadership course per se is concerned, I wouldn't think that was necessarily a prerequisite, but I think what's important to think is in what roles have I carried out, whether it's in sport, you might have been a team captain, have I had some leadership experience? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a leadership course per se. Think about things you might have done at school where you have had certain responsibilities. You might have been a prefect. These are all leadership roles. You might have been a school captain. You might have done a summer camp where you've looked after kids. These are all, relatively speaking, leadership roles, and they're all very, very relevant. So it doesn't have to be a course per se. You may have had quite a lot of leadership experience, just not realize that you've had it, but something that you'd have to self-reflect on.
Okay,
adding on to that, there is actually a free leadership course available in all communities called the Rotary Youth Leadership Award. That is something you can talk to your school about, and you actually have to be selected to go on, which I did, and I found it quite useful. But if you can get involved with that, that would add a lot of weightage.
Okay, thanks, Abhi. And a few people are asking, how do we contact the students for tutoring? In fact, we were planning to start GCSE and A-level tutoring, but at the moment, I mean, there are so many people offering My Tutor and Tutorful and other things. But from our group, I have added the names for Abhi, Abhishek, Abhi, Abhimanyu, and Aditya, whom you can contact. Their phone numbers are there. Some of them can do GCSE tutoring, but most of them, they'll help you with the medical uni entry. Okay, there have been a few questions about graduate entry level. We don't have any specialist in this group. Everyone came after A level. So is there anyone from the panel, do you want to answer about graduate entry rule? At least even a few words would be helpful. Anyone?
I mean, I would, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. You know, from my understanding is there are a few universities offer graduate entry directly. So you directly get into the, there is a course in Warwick, which is a 4-year course actually. You are a graduate, and you can be any graduate, not necessarily a science graduate. I go directly into the a step-up medical program, which is just 4-year course, and you can get into that actually. And there are some other universities also do, like Sheffield, and the Leeds also have graduate entry program, so you can get into that.
Thank you, Abhi. Anyone else can add to that? Yeah.
Sorry, for graduate entry, I would say they're normally they're very, very competitive, and you also have to sit an extra exam called the GAMSAT. But if you actually do some courses in some unis like biomed at a specific uni, sometimes they can, if you get like a first, what's it called, like the first honors or something, you are guaranteed an interview, or at least an interview. So you can look into that. Like they have like a transfer or a partnership scheme. So make sure if you're going to do a course and you want to do graduate entry, choose your university wisely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just put a link.
Just coming on from that, Ezhil, there's places like Bradford Uni actually have feeder universities on those medical science courses, and I think on the Bradford course, I think 10% admissions are set aside for transferring to med school. So I think there are feeder universities where you do the biomed sciences, and it is a sort of an entry level scheme that allows you to go on and then go on to medicine if you're successful in that first year of the course.
Okay, thank you. And Senthil?
I've just put a link in the chat. If you can just search for Medical Schools Council, it has the information about graduate entry. But also just be mindful, there are feeders, and also you can go to university and then they can do it. But also you have to think it this way. Being a I'm a psychiatrist, so don't get me wrong. Being a doctor is not the be all and end all. So do a course. You may not know, you may love it, and you may flourish in that, and you may become a billionaire like Steve Jobs and others. You don't need to be a doctor. So just don't do like, if you do like the feeder course, there's a biomedical, you will get into it. But also you need to remember there are lots and lots of other strict criteria. See, for A levels there are 300 seats, but for graduate entry there's only 30. So it's already a 10th of thing with the more competition. So just go with the passion, go with other things. You never know, you may go into different field completely. Like I said, one of my GP trainee actually was an engineer. After 15 years, 20 years, he said, well, I want to come. So do what you like rather than, don't make it narrow. That's the only thing I would like to suggest.
Okay, thank you, Sindel. We just got 4 or 5 minutes before we finish, and a note from Dr. Pramila Ramkumar, who has said, Swansea in Wales also got a graduate entry course. Thanks, Pramila.
Uncle, I'd like to say something. As a medical student, I think you just have to make sure you choose medicine for the right reasons. Don't choose medicine because it's an honorable career. Choose it because you're passionate about it. Once you chase passion, the success side will automatically come. And make sure that your mindset is strong. I'd say that's more important than your grades or your beam at UCAT. Once you have a positive mindset, nothing is impossible, because you are made to do whatever you want to do. So make sure you have self-belief in yourself, and then everything else will fall into place.
Okay, thank you, Abhi. And next question is for Aditya and Abhi. Probably please don't take more than 20 seconds to answer it. People are requesting any books or courses you recommend. Our brief book, which is a 60-page A5 size book, has got all the details, which will be published on Amazon in a couple of weeks' time. But can I ask Aditya first and then Abhi, 20 seconds, can you tell me which book or courses you found it useful when you prepared for your uni? Aditya?
So for me, when I was preparing for my UCAT, I thought books weren't really that helpful, because you need to really simulate the computer experience. So for me, from a UCAT perspective, I would say the best course without a doubt is Medify. So sign up for that. I think they have a 1 month, 3 month and 12-month subscription. Use that over the summer, use that as your primary resource, and then I'm sure you'll do well in the UCAT. In terms of an interview point of view, it is very, very important that you do a full MMI run through before. So have a look, because some of these courses like Kaplan do charge a lot of money for their courses. So have a look at the local new startup companies and just do a bit of research on the internet and find where they're holding MMI courses near you and see what their Google reviews are like. And then from there, I'm sure you'll be in a very good place as well.
Yeah, just like Aditya said, Medify is really good for UCAT, and they also do BMAT practice. I'm not a big fan of these courses for interviews because they charge so much, but Conquer Medicine was reasonably priced. But I'd say find one mentor, stick to them, and to be with them, because medicine preparation for interviews is a personal thing, and you won't get that attention in a course.
Yeah, just another quick point. Sorry, just Abhi picked up on Conquer Medicine. So we actually did that course together nearly three years ago now, I think. And I guess one of the reasons we were successful in our interviews was because of that course. So definitely keep an eye out for Conquer Medicine. They're really good. When we started, I think it was the first year that they were running the interview course, but that was a very excellent one-day course. So I definitely recommend Conquer Medicine as well.
Okay. And thank you very much. And I understand Aditya, Abhimanyu and Abhishek are willing to be mentors. So I have put the numbers in the chat box if you want to contact them. One final question before we finish. Someone has asked, can you take the UCAT more than once? And if so, which attempt will count as your first score? I'm currently in year 12 and wondering whether it might be advantageous to take it earlier. Maybe Aditya, you go first and then Abhi.
So no, with the UCAT, you can do, so what it is a UCAT admission cycle is each academic year. So you can only sit the UCAT once in that admission cycle. So it's one opportunity. And if, for example, you don't do as well as you want, you'll have to wait a whole year before seeing it again. And in terms of when to do the UCAT, I would actually say it'd be more disadvantageous to sit the UCAT early, because you need that time after you finish school, and then where you have a set time over the summer where you're able to prepare for the UCAT. So my advice would be to actually do the UCAT as late as possible before you start year 13 in September.
Thank you, Abhi. Briefly.
Adding on to what Aditya said, yeah, I'd say that in August-ish, then you can start focusing on your personal statement and tailor it towards the med schools you want to apply to. And also they do have 3 official mocks per year. So once you've done all your training, done all the Medify resources, treat the mocks like the real exam, then I think you'll be okay.
Just one more point. Like Ivy said, there is mock in UCAT, mock in Medify, but also just don't book the last UCAT exam, which is in September, because if you get ill, you need a backup. So 3rd week in August looks like a decent bet, which because up to September 15th, you have other centers. But remember, the exam centers in September is very small, so you have to travel a lot. So for example, the one in August, there will be a center near you. So just be mindful, don't put it too long, but don't go too early, like Aditya said.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we are almost finished now. And thanks for staying with us for the extra 20 minutes. Now is the time to thank everyone, especially people who have volunteered to come over today. Professor Bamra, who released a book earlier on today, Dr. Raghuraman, Dr. Sendil Kumar, consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Raji Anand, Dr. Jas Mataru, medical students, Abhishek, Aditya, Abhimanyu, Mr. Ramdil, and Mrs. Anita Bhatt. And not but not the least, Priya for hosting the entire show. Apparently, she enjoys doing this, and she's also a radio jockey for a radio station, as well as a president of a Sociology Society at Sheffield. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see you in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.